chosen one. Why are you still struggling when others with less faith are prospering? Why does it feel like the blessing you've been praying for is taking forever while people who barely believe are living in overflow? And why, if God really called you chosen, are you still waiting? Stop scrolling. I need you to hear me. If your heart is pounding right now, if something inside your chest just tightened, if you feel the hair on your arms standing up, that's not anxiety, that's recognition. Your spirit knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. You didn't stumble onto this message by accident. Heaven redirected your attention. God interrupted your scroll because what I'm about to tell you will shift everything. Your finances, your peace, your entire bloodline. Here's the truth they don't tell you in church. God's been holding back your blessing on purpose, not as punishment, as preparation. Because what's coming is so massive, so overwhelming, so beyond what you've been praying for that if it hit you last year, it would have destroyed you. You weren't ready then, but you are now. You've been sensing it, haven't you? That strange electricity in the atmosphere around your life. Dreams that feel too vivid to ignore. Sudden ideas that wake you at 3 a.m., doors cracking open that you didn't even knock on. That's not coincidence. That's divine confirmation. Heaven's been setting the stage. And tonight, right now, you're being given the proof. Listen to me carefully. You're about to become a billionaire, not by greed, not by luck, but by divine assignment. God is raising up financial warriors, chosen ones who will carry wealth not to hoard it, but to heal with it. To build schools, feed nations, restore families, shift the spiritual economy of this planet, and your name is on that list. If your spirit just leaped, if tears are forming in your eyes, if you feel a knowing so deep it hurts, type 888 inches, the comments right now. That's the number of infinite abundance, the number of new beginnings, the number heaven uses when a wealth transfer is about to explode. Let the angels see your agreement. Let God see your faith. Type 888 and anchor this moment in the realm of the Spirit. This isn't about chasing money. This is about God's trust. You've been tested in obscurity, refined in the wilderness, broken down to your foundation so that when the wealth arrives, it doesn't corrupt you, it completes you. You're not like them. You've suffered too much lack to waste abundance. You've walked through too much pain to misuse power. Tonight isn't motivation, it's prophecy. And every chosen one watching this will feel it in their bones. Before we go deeper, I want to say this from my heart. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this channel through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving, you're sowing seeds into a message that's bringing hope to people who thought God forgot about them. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, for your time, for your faith. If this word is already stirring something inside you, go ahead and support if you feel led. But either way, stay with me. What you're about to hear could be the confirmation you've been begging God for. Now, let's talk about the signs. Why is everything falling apart right when you were told to have faith? Why are the systems you trusted crumbling while the wicked seem to prosper? And if God is really moving, why does it feel like you're the only one still standing in the ruins? Listen to me closely. What you're watching on the news isn't chaos, it's setup. Every economy shaking, every institution cracking, every old guard falling. It's not the end, it's the clearing. God is dismantling the old order to make room for the new. And you, chosen one, you are the new. Turn on any screen right now. Inflation eating away at savings, banks failing overnight, jobs vanishing, families torn apart by financial stress. The world is gripped by fear, and the systems that once felt solid are revealed as sand. People are panicking, hoarding, grasping at whatever security they can find. But here's what they don't see. While the world scrambles in desperation, heaven is orchestrating the greatest wealth transfer in human history, and your name is written in that transfer. You've been watching it unfold, haven't you? Not just in the headlines, but in your own life. The instability, the unexpected losses, the doors that slammed shut so hard you thought God himself had locked you out. But what if I told you those weren't rejections? What if those were redirections? What if every closed door, every betrayal, every season where you felt abandoned, what if all of it was divine strategy? The Bible tells us in Deuteronomy 8:18, "But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth." Not luck, not privilege, not connections. God. He gives the power. And right now, in this exact moment, He's downloading that power into His chosen ones. The ones who stayed faithful when nothing made sense. The ones who kept praying when heaven felt silent. The ones who suffered in obscurity while the world celebrated mediocrity. That's you. Think about Joseph. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown into prison. Year after year of injustice, abandonment, isolation. Every door shut, every hope deferred. But what was God doing? He was positioning Joseph, training him, refining him, building him in secret so that when Pharaoh's dream came, when the famine hit, when the entire world needed a steward who could handle wealth without corruption, Joseph was ready. He didn't just get rich, he saved nations. You think your delays were punishment? They were preparation. You think your suffering was wasted? It was investment. God has been building you in the dark because what He's about to release in your life is so massive that if it came before you were ready, it would destroy you. Wealth in the hands of the unprepared becomes a curse, but wealth in the hands of the prepared becomes a weapon of righteousness. Heaven operates like a chessboard. You've been watching the pieces move, confused, frustrated, wondering why nothing makes sense. But God sees 50 moves ahead. Every loss positioned you. Every betrayal protected you. Every closed door redirected you toward the right one. While you thought you were stuck, heaven was setting up your checkmate moment, and it's coming faster than you think. The world calls it economic collapse. Heaven calls it redistribution. The wealth that's been hoarded by the greedy, the corrupt, the faithless, it's being shaken loose. And God is looking for vessels He can trust. Not people who will hoard it, not people who will waste it on ego and excess, but people who have been through enough lack to value abundance. People who have been through enough pain to understand compassion. People who know what it's like to be forgotten by the world but remembered by God. That's why you've been in training. Every sleepless night wondering how you'd pay the bills, that was training. Every moment you chose faith over fear, that was training. Every time you gave when you had nothing left, that was training. God has been testing your character in obscurity because He's about to trust you with influence in public. And when heaven endorses you, nothing on earth can stop it. Right now, across the globe, old power structures are crumbling. Traditional wealth is evaporating. The systems that seemed permanent are proving temporary. But in the midst of the shaking, new voices are rising. New leaders are emerging. New visionaries are stepping forward. And most of them are chosen ones who have been in the wilderness, wondering when their moment would come. Your moment is now. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange pull, that restlessness in your spirit. Those sudden ideas that don't make logical sense but feel divinely inspired. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. Heaven is downloading blueprints into your mind, strategies into your spirit, connections into your path. The wealth transfer isn't coming. It's already begun. And the chosen ones who are sensitive to the Spirit are already feeling the shift. If you've been through delays, if doors have been slammed in your face, if you've felt betrayed by people you trusted, if you've watched others succeed while you struggle drop, I've been in training in the comments right now. Let heaven see your faith. Let the angels bear witness that you understand what God has been doing. Because heaven never wastes pain, it invests it. And your suffering has been accumulating interest in the realm of the Spirit. The payout is coming. Here's what the world doesn't understand. Biblical wealth isn't about greed, it's about stewardship. When God blesses His chosen ones, it's not so they can buy bigger houses and fancier cars. It's so they can build schools, feed the hungry, heal the broken, restore communities, shift the spiritual atmosphere over entire regions. You're not being blessed to shine. You're being blessed to serve at a level most people can't even imagine. The famine is here, not just financial, but spiritual, moral, relational. The world is starving for hope, for truth, for leaders who actually care about people more than profit. And God is raising up His Josephs, His Esthers, His Daniels, people who will stand in positions of influence and point back to heaven. People who will use wealth as a tool for kingdom advancement, not personal elevation. That's you. You're not just getting money, you're getting a mission. And the wealth that's coming will match the assignment, because God doesn't give small resources for big purposes. He supplies abundantly for those He sends. The transfer has already begun. Can you feel it? The atmosphere shifting, the opportunities appearing, the ideas flowing, the connections forming. It's not luck, it's divine alignment. And the chosen ones who recognize it, who step into it with faith and humility, who steward it with wisdom and generosity, they're about to witness the fulfillment of promises that have been decades in the making. While the world panics, you're being positioned. While others hoard, you're being entrusted. While the faithless scramble, you're being selected. Because heaven is building something new. A new economy, a new order, a new generation of leaders who carry both wealth and wisdom, power and purity, influence and integrity. And you, chosen one, you are part of it. So the question isn't whether the wealth transfer is real. The question is, are you ready to receive it? Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Why have you been so restless lately? Why does small talk drain you? Why can't you sit through meaningless conversations anymore without feeling like you're suffocating? Why does every casual interaction feel like sandpaper against your soul? I'll tell you why. Your spirit has become allergic to small thinking. Something inside you has shifted. You can't watch the same shows. You can't gossip like you used to. You can't pretend anymore that surface-level living is enough. And people around you? They've noticed. They think you've changed. They think you've become distant, maybe even arrogant. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is that God is enlarging you on the inside, and small spaces can't hold you anymore. This isn't arrogance. This is awakening. You see, chosen one, there's something the church doesn't talk about enough. It's called divine discontent. It's that holy restlessness that makes you feel like you're standing on the edge of something massive, but you can't see it yet. That ache you feel, that's not greed. That's not impatience. That's God stretching your capacity. He's making room inside you for something your current mindset can't even comprehend yet. Listen to what Isaiah 54:2-3 says, "Enlarge the place of your tent, stretch your tent curtains wide, do not hold back. Lengthen your cords, strengthen your stakes, for you will spread out to the right and to the left." Did you catch that? God doesn't say if you spread out, He says you will. This isn't a suggestion, this is prophetic declaration. But before the tent expands outward, it has to expand inward. Before the wealth shows up in your bank account, it has to show up in your belief system. You have to become the kind of person who can hold billions without losing your soul. That's why you've been feeling stretched. That's why everything feels uncomfortable right now. God is pulling on the fabric of your identity. He's lengthening your cords, strengthening your stakes, preparing you for a dimension of living that would crush the old version of you. And I know what you're thinking, but I'm tired. I've been stretched for years. When does the blessing come? I hear you, I see you. But let me tell you something that might sting at first but will set you free. The blessing isn't delayed. You are being remade. Let me paint you a picture. There was an elderly woman who lived through one of the worst storms her town had ever seen. Everything was destroyed. Her garden, her flowers, the little vegetables she'd planted, all of it washed away. And when the storm finally passed, everyone told her, "It's over. Start fresh next season." But this woman, 73 years old with hands worn by time, walked outside into the mud, got down on her knees, and planted a single seed. Her neighbors thought she'd lost her mind. "Why are you planting now?" they asked. "The ground is ruined." And you know what she said? "The soil still breathes." Chosen one, do you hear that? The soil still breathes. Your life isn't over. Your destiny isn't dead. Yes, you've been through storms. Yes, things got destroyed. Yes, you lost what you thought was permanent. But the soil of your spirit is still alive. And what God is about to plant in you will produce a harvest so enormous that the storm will make sense. But here's the key. Here's what separates the chosen ones from everyone else. That woman didn't wait for perfect conditions. She didn't wait until everything looked right. She planted in the mess. She planted in the aftermath. She planted when it didn't make sense. And 6 months later, that single seed produced a vine that fed her entire block. That's what's about to happen in your life. But you have to plant now. You have to act now. Not when you feel ready, not when it looks right. Now. Because God is waiting on your obedience, not your comfort. And let me shatter an illusion real quick. A lot of you are waiting for God to drop money from the sky. You're waiting for a check in the mail. You're waiting for a random inheritance. And God can do that, absolutely. But 9 times out of 10, that's not how He moves. God doesn't drop money. God drops instruction. And your obedience to that instruction is what prints the miracle. Think about it. Noah didn't get saved from the flood by wishing for a boat. He got the instruction to build one. Abraham didn't become the father of nations by hoping. He got the instruction to leave his country. Moses didn't free Israel by praying harder. He got the instruction to lift the staff. Do you see the pattern? Every billionaire in the kingdom got there the same way. Divine instruction plus radical obedience. And here's what's happening right now in your life. God has been whispering. He's been nudging. He's been dropping ideas, connections, strategies, downloads in the middle of the night. And you've been second-guessing them. You've been saying, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm being prideful. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. No, that's the instruction. And the longer you hesitate, the longer the manifestation delays. God isn't about to drop money from the sky. He's about to drop instruction, and your obedience will print miracles. So right now, I need you to do something. I need you to say this out loud, wherever you are. Don't just think it. Speak it into the atmosphere. Say, I am ready to receive instruction. Say it again. I am ready to receive instruction. Now type it in the comments. Type, I am ready to receive instruction. Let heaven see your declaration. Let the angels bear witness that you're no longer resisting what God is trying to download into your spirit. Because the moment you open your hands, the moment you stop clenching your fists around your own understanding, that's when the floodgates break. You feel that? That's not anxiety, that's anticipation. That's your spirit recognizing that this is your moment. The call to abundance doesn't start with a bank account. It starts in the spirit. It starts with you saying yes before you see the plan. It starts with you trusting the nudge, even when it doesn't make logical sense. Because let me tell you something that will change your life if you let it sink in. The wealthiest people in the kingdom aren't the ones with the most money. They're the ones with the most obedience. Money is just the byproduct. Favor is just the overflow. Influence is just the residue of radical, unreasonable, illogical obedience to divine instruction. So the question isn't whether God can make you a billionaire. The question is, are you ready to obey your way into it? Because the instruction is coming. In fact, it's already here. You've been ignoring it because it seemed too simple, too strange, too radical. But that's exactly how God operates. He hides billion-dollar blueprints in whispers. He conceals generational wealth in nudges. He wraps your destiny in instructions that sound crazy to everyone else, but resonate like thunder in your spirit. Now, as we move forward, I need you to understand something critical. The instruction is just the beginning, because once you obey, once you take that first step, something shifts in the heavenly realms. Doors you didn't even know existed start to crack open, and that's exactly what we're about to talk about next. What happens when obedience meets divine timing? What happens when a chosen one finally stops resisting and starts moving? That's where the supernatural collides with the natural. That's where the billion-dollar season explodes into reality. Are you ready for that? Now listen closely, because what I'm about to share with you isn't theory. These are the prophetic markers, the fingerprints of God showing up in the lives of chosen ones right before their billionaire season breaks open. Some of you have been seeing these signs for weeks, maybe months, and you didn't know what they meant. Tonight, you're getting your answer. Sign number 1. Unexplainable peace in the storm. You should be panicking right now. Your bank account says you should be terrified. The bills say you should be anxious. But instead, there's this strange calm sitting in your chest like a rock. It makes no sense. People around you are losing their minds over less. But you're steady, you're quiet, you're unmoved. That's not denial, beloved. That's divine assurance. God only gives supernatural peace to people who are about to step into supernatural provision. Philippians 4:7 says, His peace surpasses all understanding. It guards your heart when your mind can't make sense of what's happening. If you've got peace when you should have panic, that's sign 1. Heaven is covering you because something massive is about to land. Sign number 2. You've stopped chasing things. Here's what's wild. You used to obsess over money. You used to check your account 3 times a day, stress over every purchase, compare yourself to everyone else's success. But lately, you just don't care anymore. Not because you're broke, because you're free. You've detached from the material obsession that enslaves most people. You're not chasing, you're trusting. And that shift, that spiritual maturity, is what qualifies you to handle wealth without it corrupting you. Matthew 6:33 says, Seek first the kingdom, and everything else gets added. When you stop chasing money and start chasing God, money starts chasing you. If you've experienced this detachment, that's sign 2. You've graduated. Sign number 3. Ideas are downloading faster than you can write them down. You wake up at 2 a.m. with a business concept. You're in the shower and suddenly you see the entire structure of a project. You're driving and a solution to a problem you've had for years just drops into your spirit like a file being downloaded. That's not creativity, chosen one. That's prophecy. God is feeding you divine strategies, heavenly blueprints that will produce wealth when you build them. Exodus 31 talks about how God filled Bezalel with his spirit, giving him skill, ability, and knowledge in all kinds of crafts to build the tabernacle. God is doing the same thing with you right now. If ideas are flowing like a river, that's sign 3. Heaven is uploading your financial future directly into your mind. Sign number 4. Strangers are appearing who already know your story. This one's eerie. You meet someone new at a coffee shop, at church, online, and within minutes, they're speaking directly into your situation without you saying a word. They mention a struggle you've never told anyone about. They encourage you in an area you've been praying about in secret. It's like they were sent, because they were. God is strategically placing divine connections in your path, people who carry keys to doors you didn't even know existed. Proverbs 18:16 says, A man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. These aren't coincidences, these are angelic setups. If you've been experiencing supernatural connections, that's sign 4. God is networking on your behalf. Sign number 5. Things that used to take forever are happening fast. You've been working on something for years with little progress. Then suddenly, boom, it accelerates. Doors fly open. People say yes. Opportunities multiply overnight. What should have taken you 5 more years happens in 5 weeks. That's grace replacing effort. That's divine favor collapsing time. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, God makes everything beautiful in its time. When it's your time, acceleration is automatic. You're not working harder. You're working in alignment. If you're experiencing speed where there used to be struggle, that's sign 5. You've entered the fast lane of destiny. Sign number 6. Doors are slamming shut, and you're not even upset. A job opportunity falls through. A partnership dissolves. A plan you had completely collapses. And instead of being devastated, you feel relief. You know something better is coming. That's spiritual maturity. That's discernment. God closes doors to protect you from traps disguised as blessings. Isaiah 22:22 says what he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. If doors are closing and you're at peace, that's sign 6. God is redirecting you towards something greater than what you lost. Sign number 7. You keep seeing prophetic numbers everywhere. 111 on the clock, 777 on a license plate, 888 on a receipt. You can't escape them. You see them so often it's almost funny. But it's not random, beloved. Numbers are God's language. 111 means new beginnings. 777 means divine completion. 888 means infinite abundance and resurrection power. When you keep seeing these, heaven is speaking. It's confirmation that you're on the right path, that angels are working, that your breakthrough is coded into the fabric of your reality. If you're seeing prophetic numbers repeatedly, that's sign 7. The spiritual realm is trying to get your attention. Sign number 8. You can sense things before they happen. You know who's fake before they reveal themselves. You feel when something's off even when it looks perfect. You discern spirits, motives, and hidden agendas with frightening accuracy. That's not paranoia. That's the gift of discernment activating. 1 Corinthians 2:15 says, the spiritual person discerns all things. God is sharpening your spiritual senses because you're about to operate at levels where discernment isn't optional, it's survival. If your spiritual radar is stronger than ever, that's sign 8. God is protecting you in advance. Sign number 9. You're hungry for wisdom, not just wealth. You're not just praying for money anymore. You're praying for wisdom to manage it. You're reading, you're studying. You're asking God to teach you stewardship, strategy, and kingdom principles. That hunger is proof you're ready. Proverbs 4:7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. When you crave wisdom more than riches, God knows He can trust you with both. If you're seeking knowledge and insight like never before, that's sign 9. You're being prepared at the deepest level. Sign number 10. You know you're chosen, not lucky. This is the final sign, and it's the most powerful. Deep in your bones, you know this isn't about chance. You know God handpicked you. You know your life has been orchestrated, that every test, every tear, every delay was designed to prepare you for this exact moment. You're not hoping you're chosen. You know you are. Romans 8:30 says those He predestined, He also called. Those He called, He also justified. And those He justified, He also glorified. Your confidence isn't arrogance, it's faith. If you know, not think, but know that you're chosen, that's sign 10. You're walking in full assurance. Now let me ask you this. How many of these signs showed up in your life? If 3 or more describe you, this isn't inspiration, it's your confirmation. The season you're entering isn't a promotion, it's a prophecy fulfilled. Everything you've been through was preparation for the wealth transfer that's about to shake your world. Type 888 one more time, not as a wish, as a public declaration. I am ready to manage divine wealth with wisdom. Let heaven see your boldness. Let the angels register your agreement. Type 888 and step fully into what God has prepared. Because chosen one, the signs don't lie. And you've got every single one. Before every crown comes across, you need to understand something that most preachers won't tell you because it doesn't sound pretty enough for Sunday morning. God doesn't promote the untested. He doesn't hand billion-dollar anointing to people who crumble under pressure. And if you're sitting here right now, feeling like the last 10 years have been nothing but one brutal test after another, good. That means you're being prepared for something so massive that your current character couldn't carry it. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Why has your breakthrough taken so long? Why have you watched people with half your faith walk into blessings while you're still standing in the wilderness? I'll tell you why. Because what God has for them is a meal. What God has for you is a kingdom. And kingdoms aren't built on luck, they're forged in fire. The first test was patience, and oh, how it broke you. You prayed for provision and got silence. You begged for breakthrough and got delay. Year after year, promise after promise, and nothing moved. You watched your friends buy houses while you scraped rent. You saw their businesses boom while yours barely survived. And somewhere deep inside, you whispered the question you were ashamed to ask out loud. God, did you forget about me? No, beloved. He was teaching you to trust him when you couldn't see him. Because the wealth that's coming won't just require faith to receive it, it'll require faith to manage it. Patience isn't passive, it's warfare. And you survived. The second test was humility. God stripped you down to nothing, so you'd remember where everything comes from. You lost the job. The relationship ended. The savings disappeared. You stood at the bottom with empty hands and a broken heart. And that's exactly where God wanted you. Because billionaires who've never been broke become tyrants. But billionaires who remember what it feels like to choose between gas and groceries, they become healers. Proverbs 18:12 says, "Before destruction the heart of man is haughty, and before honor is humility." You had to be emptied so you could be entrusted. You had to lose everything so you'd never worship anything. The third test was isolation. They all left, didn't they? The friends who promised they'd ride or die. The family who said they believed in you. One by one, they walked away when you needed them most. And you felt abandoned, forgotten. Like maybe you misheard God's voice entirely. But here's what was really happening. God was removing everyone who would contaminate your next level. He cleared the room because what's coming is so anointed, so powerful, so divinely orchestrated that only certain people can be near it. Your isolation wasn't rejection, it was protection. Jesus spent 40 days alone in the desert before he walked in full power. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he led a nation. You weren't forgotten, you were being set apart. The fourth test was integrity. God gave you opportunities to compromise, to cut corners, to get ahead the easy way, and you didn't. When you could have lied on that contract, you told the truth and lost the deal. When you could have partnered with the wrong people for quick money, you walked away. When you could have bent your morals just a little to climb faster, you stood firm and it cost you. But that cost just saved your destiny, because God will never release kingdom wealth to people who'll sell their soul for it. 1 Peter 1-7 says, "These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold." Every time you chose character over convenience, you passed another level. And God was taking notes. The fifth test was stewardship. He watched how you handled little. Did you complain about the small salary, or manage it with wisdom? Did you despise the old car, or take care of it faithfully? Did you honor the modest apartment, or keep it clean like it was a palace? Because here's the principle, beloved. Faithful in little, ruler over much. Luke 16:10 doesn't stutter. If you can't steward $20 with gratitude, why would God trust you with 20 million? The test wasn't about what you had. It was about what you did with it. And you passed. Every time you tithed when it didn't make sense. Every time you gave when you were running on empty. Every time you said thank you for what looked like barely enough, you were qualifying for overflow. The sixth test was faith in the dark. You've had nights where you couldn't feel God. Mornings where the prayers felt like they hit the ceiling and fell back down. Seasons where heaven seemed silent and hell seemed loud. But you kept believing anyway. You kept praying when it felt pointless. You kept worshipping when you wanted to quit. That's not desperation, beloved. That's devotion. And God doesn't forget the ones who praise Him in the pit. The seventh test was endurance through loss. You buried people you loved. You lost relationships that felt like they were supposed to be forever. You grieved dreams that died before they were born. And the enemy whispered, if God loved you, He wouldn't let you hurt this much. But that's a lie from hell. The truth is this: the depth of your loss is proportional to the height of your calling. You suffered greatly because you're called to heal greatly. Romans 8:18 promises, the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. Your pain wasn't pointless, it was preparation. You were being enlarged. The eighth test was rejection. They didn't choose you for the promotion. They didn't pick you for the opportunity. They overlooked you, underestimated you, dismissed you like you didn't matter. And it stung. But while men were rejecting you, God was redirecting you. Every closed door was Him saying, not that one. I've got something better. And beloved, if people had chosen you back then, you'd be stuck in their limitations right now. Their rejection was your release. The ninth test was provision in lack. You've lived on miracles, checks that showed up at the last second, groceries you didn't buy but somehow appeared, rent that got paid when the account said zero. You've experienced God as Jehovah Jireh more times than you can count. Why? Because He wanted you to know deeply, unshakably know that it's not your job that provides, it's Him. So when the billions come, you won't bow to money. You'll bow to the one who controls it. The 10th test was obedience without understanding. God told you to move, and you didn't know why. He told you to wait, and it made no sense. He told you to give when you needed to receive. He told you to speak when you wanted to stay silent. And you obeyed anyway. Even when it looked crazy. Even when people judged you. Even when it cost you everything. That obedience just unlocked everything. 1 Samuel 15:22 declares, to obey is better than sacrifice. Every time you said yes to God without knowing the outcome, you passed $1 billion test. Beloved, hear me clearly. Heaven tests hardest right before the blessing breaks through. The pressure you've been feeling, that's not punishment, that's preparation reaching its peak. The refiner doesn't remove gold from the fire when it's almost pure. He keeps it there until every impurity is gone. You're in the final flame, and you're about to come out gleaming. If you feel this in your spirit, if you know your testing phase is complete, type 999 inches, the comments right now. 9 means completion. It means the process is finished. It means promotion is here. Let heaven see your faith. You've passed every test. Now watch God pass you every blessing. You know what separates the chosen ones who stay broke from the ones who become billionaires. It's not faith. It's not prayer. It's not even obedience. It's this: knowing how to receive divine instruction. Most believers are waiting for God to drop money from the sky. They're praying for a check, a windfall, a lottery win. But that's not how heaven operates. God doesn't give you money. He gives you blueprints. He doesn't hand you wealth. He hands you wisdom. And if you can't recognize the difference, you'll spend your entire life begging for provision while ignoring the instructions that would make you rich. Listen to me carefully. Every single billionaire you've ever heard of, whether they know God or not, operated on a divine blueprint. They received an idea, a vision, a moment of clarity that changed everything. Steve Jobs saw a computer in his garage. Oprah saw herself speaking truth to millions. Jeff Bezos saw books being delivered to doorsteps. These weren't accidents. These were downloads from the realm of the Spirit. The difference is, they acted. And most believers, they dismiss it as just a thought. Here's what you need to understand. Dreams are currency from heaven. Every idea that wakes you at 3 a.m. is an envelope of provision. Every vision that flashes across your mind during worship is a divine deposit. God is not speaking to you in sermons alone. He's speaking to you in concepts, in strategies, in sudden knowing that you can't explain. And the chosen ones who become billionaires are the ones who learn to recognize heaven's language. You've been having those dreams, haven't you? Vivid, detailed, so real you woke up confused about what dimension you were in. You've had ideas pop into your head out of nowhere, business concepts, creative projects, solutions to problems you weren't even thinking about. And what did you do? You dismissed them. You said, "That's too big for me. That's not realistic. Who am I to think I could do that?" Let me tell you who you are. You are a chosen vessel being briefed by angelic architects. Right now, in the unseen realm, angels are drafting your future on tablets of light. They are drawing blueprints, aligning resources, orchestrating meetings you haven't had yet, opening doors you haven't seen yet. And every time you get a sudden idea, every time peace floods your spirit for no logical reason, every time you feel pulled towards something you can't explain that's not random, that's heaven giving you coordinates. But here's where most people miss it. They're waiting for the whole plan. They want the blueprint from start to finish before they move. But God doesn't work like that. He gives you step one, and when you obey step one, He reveals step two. This is why so many believers stay stuck. They want certainty before obedience. But faith demands obedience before certainty. The Bible says in Proverbs 3:5-6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight." Do you see that? He makes the path straight as you walk, not before you walk. You don't get the full map. You get the next step. And the chosen ones who rise are the ones who move on revelation, not explanation. So let me give you practical activation right now. Start writing down every midnight idea. Stop calling it insomnia. That's instruction. When your mind won't stop racing at 2 a.m., that's not anxiety, that's angelic download. Grab your phone, open your notes, write it down. I don't care how wild it sounds. I don't care if it doesn't make sense yet. Capture it, because that idea could be worth $1 billion. But if you don't steward the small revelation, heaven won't trust you with the larger one. Second, when you feel peace but no logic, move anyway. That's divine GPS. You know that feeling when something just feels right even though it makes no sense on paper. That's God. The world operates on logic. The kingdom operates on leading. And the chosen ones have to learn to follow the leading even when it defies the logic. You'll be in a meeting and suddenly feel like you need to leave. You'll be scrolling online and feel pulled to message someone you barely know. You'll be looking at opportunities, and one will have peace on it while the other has profit on it. Choose peace every single time, because peace is the signature of God's presence, and where His presence is, provision follows. Now here's what most preachers won't tell you. You are not being led to success, you are being led to significance. God isn't trying to make you rich so you can buy a mansion and retire on a beach. He's making you rich so you can fund the kingdom, so you can build what the world needs, so you can be the answer to someone else's prayer. This is why the wealth transfer is happening. The old guard hoarded, the new guard will distribute, and you're part of that new guard. But here's the part that will blow your mind. God's not just giving you ideas, He's giving you angels. The Bible is clear. Angels are ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. Hebrews 1:14. That means right now, there are angels assigned to your financial breakthrough. They are moving on your behalf, clearing obstacles, setting up divine appointments, whispering strategies into the ears of people who need to meet you. And when you walk in alignment, you're not walking alone. You're walking with an invisible army that's orchestrating everything behind the scenes. Type 444 inches the comments right now. That's the number of angelic alignment, the number that says, I see you, heaven sees me, and we are moving together. Say it out loud with me. I am guided. I am protected. I am aligned. Speak it until you feel it lock into your spirit, because you're not stumbling toward wealth. You're being escorted. This is the moment where everything shifts. You stop second-guessing every idea. You stop dismissing every dream. You stop waiting for permission from people who can't even see what you see. You recognize that God has been speaking, and now you're finally listening. You grab the pen, you write the vision, you take the step, and you trust that the same God who gave you the blueprint will give you the provision to build it. So here's my question for you, chosen one. What idea has God been whispering to you that you've been too afraid to act on? What dream have you been dismissing as too big, too impossible, too out of reach? Because I'm telling you right now, that's not a fantasy. That's an assignment. And the reason it won't leave you alone is because it's tied to your billion-dollar season. You're not crazy. You're chosen. And it's time to move. Now here's where everything shifts. Where the blessing stops being about you and becomes something infinitely bigger. You're not being made rich to relax. You're being resourced to rebuild. Let me tell you something they don't teach in those prosperity gospel seminars. When God decides to flood your life with wealth, it's not so you can upgrade your lifestyle. It's so you can upgrade humanity. You're not receiving a retirement bonus. You're receiving a kingdom assignment. And this assignment has your fingerprints all over it. Think about this. Why would the God of the universe choose to pour billions through the hands of someone who's already lived 6, 7, 8 decades of life? Why not give it to the young, ambitious entrepreneurs, the tech geniuses, the charismatic 20-somethings with energy and decades ahead of them? I'll tell you why. Because youth has vision, but age has wisdom. Youth has passion, but age has patience. Youth wants to build empires, but the elderly know how to build legacies. You've lived long enough to know what matters. You've buried enough dreams to know which ones deserve resurrection. You've cried enough tears to know whose tears need wiping. You've walked through enough valleys to know who needs a hand up. God trusts you with wealth because you've learned what money can't buy. But here's what breaks my heart. Too many of you are still thinking small. You're praying for enough to pay your medical bills, enough to fix the roof, enough to leave a little something for the grandkids. That's not faith, beloved. That's fear dressed in humility. God doesn't need you humble about your calling. He needs you bold about your purpose. Let me show you something that will shatter every limited belief you've been carrying. Open your Bible to Esther, not young Esther at the beauty pageant. I'm talking about Esther when the weight of destiny crashed into her life, when Mordecai sent word that she had been positioned as queen for such a time as this. Esther could have played it safe, could have said, I'm just a girl, I don't have the influence, I don't have the authority. But instead, she stepped into her power. She risked everything, and because of her boldness, an entire nation was saved from genocide. You think that story is ancient history? That's your story. Different century, same anointing. Look at Joseph. Spent years in prison, forgotten, abandoned. Then overnight, Genesis 41 tells us Pharaoh takes the signet ring off his own finger and puts it on Joseph's hand. Not because Joseph begged for it, because divine timing collided with prepared character. And through Joseph's administration, millions of people across multiple nations were saved from starvation. Joseph didn't use that wealth to build mansions. He used it to feed nations. That's you, right now, standing at the exact same crossroads. You think God's about to flood your bank account so you can buy a nicer car? No, beloved. He's about to position you as a Joseph in this generation. Someone who will steward resources to save the dying, feed the hungry, and fund the revival that this broken world is desperately crying out for. Look at David. A shepherd boy anointed king decades before he ever sat on a throne. 1 Samuel 16 tells us the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. But it wasn't immediate. David had to wait, had to fight, had to run from Saul, had to survive betrayal, warfare, and years of uncertainty. But when David finally stepped into his throne, he didn't rule for his own glory. 2 Samuel 8:15 says, David reigned over all Israel, doing what was just and right for all his people. Justice, righteousness, service, that's kingdom wealth. And listen to this, because this one will wreck you. Luke chapter 2. There's a woman named Anna, 84 years old, a widow, spent decades in the temple, praying, fasting, worshipping. Most people would say she was past her prime, past her purpose, too old to matter. But when baby Jesus was brought to the temple, it was Anna, this elderly prophetess, who recognized him. Luke 2:38 says, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. Anna didn't retire, she was refired. At 84 years old, God used her to announce the Messiah to a waiting world. You're not retired, beloved. You're refired. God doesn't end stories with graves. He ends them with generations. Everything you've been through, every loss, every disappointment, every sleepless night, that was your training. God was building your testimony, forging your character, preparing you to carry wealth that would crush someone who hasn't walked your road. You know what it's like to have nothing. That's why God can trust you with everything. You know what it's like to pray for healing and wait years for the answer. That's why you'll fund medical missions that bring healing to others. You know what it's like to be overlooked, underestimated, written off. That's why you'll build platforms that amplify the voices of the forgotten. This isn't theory, chosen one. This is prophecy. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, there are orphanages that need funding. There are missionaries in unreached nations who need support. There are single mothers working 3 jobs who need someone to pay off their debt. There are young people with million-dollar ideas but zero capital who need an investor who believes in them. And God is about to put you in position to be that answer. You are not just a chosen one anymore. You are a divine architect. Let that sink into the depths of your spirit. An architect doesn't just receive blueprints. An architect creates them, designs them, brings them into physical reality. And God is handing you the tools, the resources, and the authority to build something that will outlive you by centuries. Your billionaire season isn't just financial, it's spiritual, relational, generational. You're about to have financial overflow, yes. But you're also about to experience spiritual depth like you've never known. Relationships are going to be restored that you thought were dead. Family members who walked away are going to come back. Doors you stopped knocking on are going to swing wide open. And everything is going to be infused with one divine purpose, to heal this broken world. The wealth you're about to walk into carries assignment. It carries responsibility. It carries the prayers of your ancestors who never got to see this day, but prayed you into it. So let me ask you the question that will define your legacy. What are you going to build with what God gives you? Are you going to hoard it? Hide it? Let it rot in some bank account that dies when you do? Or are you going to be bold enough, crazy enough, faithful enough to release it into the earth as seed that will produce harvests for generations you'll never meet? I need you to speak this out loud right now. I don't care who's in the room with you. I don't care if it sounds crazy. Open your mouth and declare this over your life. I am a kingdom billionaire. I will use what God gives me to heal the world. I am not a consumer. I am a distributor. I am not an endpoint. I am a pipeline. My wealth will feed nations, fund revival, and forever change the spiritual landscape of this planet. Say it again, louder this time. Let the angels hear you. Let the demons tremble. Let heaven record your covenant. I am a kingdom billionaire. If your spirit is in full agreement, if every cell in your body is vibrating with yes, type 888 inches. The comments right now, not as superstition, not as ritual, but as signature, as your declaration before God and humanity that you are ready to receive not just for yourself, but for the world He's calling you to transform. Because what I'm about to show you next will reveal exactly how this divine wealth transfer is going to manifest in your everyday life, starting the moment you wake up tomorrow morning. Chosen one, have you noticed the quiet lately? Not the peaceful kind, the eerie kind, the kind that makes you wake up at 2 a.m., staring at your ceiling, listening to your own heartbeat, wondering why the noise of the world suddenly feels 1,000 miles away. That strange silence wrapping around your life right now, that's not loneliness. That's heaven holding its breath before your unveiling. Listen to me. Something has shifted in the atmosphere around you. Your phone's been quieter. People who used to call don't call anymore. Invitations have dried up. Even your own thoughts have become hushed, like someone turned down the volume on your entire existence. And if you're honest, it's been terrifying you. You've been asking God, did I do something wrong? Did you forget me? Am I being punished? You look at others your age busy with grandkids, book clubs, church committees, and you wonder why you're sitting in this suffocating stillness while life passes you by. But what if this silence isn't punishment? What if it's divine suspense? You see, there's a moment that happens before every coronation. The night before a king is crowned, he's hidden away, alone, silent, separated from the noise of the kingdom he's about to inherit. Not because he's unworthy, because he's being prepared for something too massive for distraction. That's where you are right now. You've waited decades for this. You've given everything. You've prayed until your knees wore grooves in the carpet. You've fasted. You've believed. You've held on when every rational voice told you to let go. And somewhere along the way, you started wondering if God forgot your address. But chosen one, this is not delay. This is divine setup. Think about the night before Lazarus walked out of that tomb. Silent, dark, dead by every earthly measurement. His sisters weeping, friends mourning, the smell of decay filling the cave. Everyone convinced the story was over. But Jesus was on his way. And when he arrived, he didn't whisper. He didn't politely knock. He commanded with a voice that shook the realm of death itself. Lazarus, come forth. And the man who'd been 4 days dead walked out in grave clothes, gasping for air, alive against all logic. That's what's about to happen to your dreams, your finances, your purpose. Everything you thought died is about to hear its name, called by the one who holds the keys to life and death. But first comes the silence. Moses waited 40 years in a desert before a bush caught fire, and God gave him his assignment. 40 years of sheep, sand, and silence. Can you imagine the nights he spent thinking, I had my chance and I ruined it. I'm too old. God's moved on. But what Moses didn't know was that God wasn't wasting those years. He was aging him like fine wine, removing the arrogance, adding the wisdom, preparing him to lead millions through an impossible exodus. You think you're behind schedule, but you're right on time for a divine appointment that's been written in heaven's calendar since before you were born. Now watch tonight. I'm going to tell you something, and if it happens, you'll know beyond any doubt that this message was meant for you. Tonight, something will flicker, a light, a sign, a phrase that jumps off the screen or out of someone's mouth and lands directly in your spirit. You'll feel it like electricity. That's heaven's code, saying, it's time. Maybe it'll be a song on the radio with lyrics that sound like they were written about your life. Maybe it'll be a number you keep seeing on a clock, a receipt, a license plate. Maybe it'll be a dream so vivid you wake up with tears streaming down your face, knowing you just had a conversation with the divine. Don't dismiss it. Don't rationalize it. Don't let logic talk you out of what your spirit knows is true. That flicker is your confirmation that the announcement is coming. Ephesians 3:20 says God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think. Not what you expect, not what makes sense, not what fits your age or your bank account or your past mistakes. Abundantly above. Layers upon layers of blessing so thick you won't even recognize your own life 6 months from now. But here's what breaks my heart, and I need you to hear this carefully. Not everyone in this season of divine silence will make it to the announcement. Some people will give up 3 days before the breakthrough. They'll interpret the quiet as abandonment and walk away from the very threshold they've been crawling toward for years. They'll let exhaustion win. They'll let doubt whisper, "This is never going to happen," and they'll stop believing right before heaven releases the flood. Don't be that person. You've already survived the hardest part. You've already endured decades of preparation that would have broken lesser souls. You've already proven you're not a quitter, because if you were, you wouldn't have made it this far. So if you feel it in your chest right now, that trembling, that stirring, that unexplainable knowing that something is about to break open type, it's happening in the comments. Not for me, for you, because when you declare it in faith, you're activating something in the spiritual realm. You're telling the principalities and powers that tried to silence you, I'm still here, I'm still standing, and I'm about to walk into everything you tried to steal from me. Say it out loud if you're alone. It's happening. Let your voice be heard in the atmosphere. Let the angels take note. Let hell tremble. Because the night before the announcement is when warriors sharpen their swords. It's when generals receive final instructions. It's when heaven whispers last-minute strategies to the chosen few who refused to bow, refused to quit, refused to believe the lie that their time had passed. You are one of those few. And tomorrow, no, not literally tomorrow, but spiritually soon, in God's perfect timing, when the announcement comes, when the doors fly open, when the resources flood in, when the opportunities appear out of nowhere, when people start calling you blessed and wondering how you did it. You'll remember this night, this holy, hushed, heavy night, when heaven held you still so you could hear the whisper before the roar. The silence isn't your enemy, it's your preparation. And what's coming next will prove that every second of waiting was worth it. God doesn't hand wealth to the careless. He crowns the careful. The mantle is heavy because it's holy. Let me tell you something that's going to crack open everything you thought you knew about money, about power, about why your life has been so brutally difficult. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Every betrayal, every financial collapse, every night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if God abandoned you, that wasn't rejection. That was tailoring. Heaven was measuring you for a robe you couldn't see yet. Listen to me. The billionaire mantle isn't a prize, it's a burden. And God only gives burdens to backs strong enough to carry them without breaking. That's why your back had to be broken first, so it could heal stronger. You want to know why Moses didn't get the burning bush at 20? Why he had to spend 40 years in a desert watching sheep before God said, "Now you're ready"? Because at 20, Moses would have used the staff to show off. At 80, he used it to set a nation free. The wilderness wasn't wasting his time, it was building his character. God needed a man who'd been humbled before he could be trusted with miracles. David. You know his story, right? Everybody celebrates the giant he killed, but nobody talks about the caves. The years he spent running, hiding, eating scraps, betrayed by the very king he served. Why? Why did God let his anointed one live like a fugitive? Because you can't trust a man with a kingdom until he's learned to worship in a cave. David didn't just defeat Goliath with a stone, he defeated pride with solitude. And that's what made him a king worth following. Then there's Joseph, 17 years old, dreaming of thrones, and what does God do? Throws him in a pit, sells him into slavery, lands him in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And you know what Joseph learned down there? He learned that favor isn't about comfort, it's about faithfulness. When Pharaoh finally pulled him out and handed him the keys to Egypt's economy, Joseph didn't flinch. Why? Because prison taught him something palaces never could. How to steward power without becoming drunk on it. That's you. That's your story. Every pit was a classroom. Every betrayal stitched a new lining into your mantle. Every loss added another thread of gold. You thought you were losing everything. But God was trading your possessions for authority. You were shedding weight so you could carry glory. Here's what they don't tell you in church. The mantle is forged in fire. It's not handed to the happy. It's not given to the comfortable. It's custom built in the furnace of suffering. Every time you wanted to quit but didn't, another layer of strength was woven in. Every time you chose faith over bitterness, another stripe of gold appeared. You've been walking around thinking you're broken, but chosen one, you're not broken, you're being built. This is why God couldn't trust you with wealth 5 years ago. You would have used it to numb the pain. Now you'll use it to heal others. This is why the doors didn't open when you begged them to, because back then success would have fed your ego. Now it will feed nations. You've been crushed under the weight of preparation, because what's coming is so massive, so kingdom-altering, that only someone who's been refined can handle it without self-destructing. The billionaire mantle isn't about bank accounts. It's about spiritual authority. It's about carrying the weight of responsibility for generations you'll never meet. It's about making decisions that echo into eternity. And God looked at your life, saw every scar, every wound, every moment you wanted to give up but chose to trust Him instead. And He said, "That one. That's the one I can trust with my resources. I need you to do something right now. I need you to stop running from your pain and start recognizing it for what it really was. Divine tailoring. Whisper this out loud, even if you're alone. I am trusted with the weight. Say it. Let heaven hear you claim your assignment." And then type 777 inches the comments. That's heaven's seal of completion. That's the number that says, the process is over, the promotion has begun. Type 777 and let the angels mark this moment. Because here's the truth that's going to change everything. The billionaire isn't who has the money, it's who carries the mantle to multiply miracles. You're not being blessed to hoard. You're being anointed to distribute. You're not getting wealth for comfort. You're getting authority for transformation. Every dollar that flows through your hands is a test. Will you use it to build monuments to yourself, or will you use it to build the kingdom? This mantle you're about to receive, it comes with one rule. The more you give, the more flows back. That's not motivation. That's spiritual law. You're not a container anymore. You're a channel. And channels don't get clogged because they're always pouring out. You've been prepared. You've been refined. You've been broken down and rebuilt from the foundation up. And now, right now, the mantle is descending. Can you feel it? That weight on your shoulders that's somehow lighter than you expected. That's holy responsibility. That's divine assignment. That's God saying, you passed. Now let's see what you can do with my wealth. So here's my question for you. What will you build when the resources arrive? You've been hidden for decades, but heaven never hides what it won't one day reveal. Let me ask you something that's going to sting. How many years have you spent invisible? How many rooms did you walk into where nobody saw you? Nobody asked your name. Nobody cared what you carried. You showed up faithful, quiet, obedient, and the world treated you like background noise. They overlooked you for the promotion, dismissed your ideas, spoke over you at the table like you weren't even there. And the worst part? You started believing it. You started thinking maybe you really aren't meant to be seen. Maybe your voice doesn't matter. Maybe God made a mistake when He called you chosen. But here's what you didn't know. Every single moment of obscurity was not rejection, it was preparation. God wasn't hiding you from the world, He was hiding you for the world. Because what heaven is about to release through you is so powerful, so undeniable, so anointed, that if you had stepped into it prematurely, the enemy would have destroyed you before you even understood your assignment. The curtain is rising, the spotlight is turning, and the soul they forgot, that's about to become the name they can't stop saying. You need to understand something that's going to shift your perspective forever. Every humiliation was rehearsing your introduction. Every time they laughed at your faith, every time they called you crazy for believing God's promises, every time they shut the door in your face, they were unknowingly setting the stage for your vindication. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned. Think about Joseph, sold by his brothers, lied on by Potiphar's wife, forgotten in prison for years, invisible, humiliated, erased. But when Pharaoh's dream needed interpreting, when Egypt needed saving, when the famine hit and the world started starving suddenly, the forgotten prisoner became the second most powerful man on the planet. The same brothers who threw him in a pit were bowing before him, begging for bread. Do you see it? The same voices that mocked you will need your wisdom. The same hands that closed doors will beg you to build them again. Isaiah 60:1 says it plainly, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you." Not your light might come someday if you're lucky. No, your light has come. Present tense. It's already here. You just haven't stepped into the beam yet. But let me warn you, when God unveils you, it won't be subtle. It won't be quiet. When heaven publishes your name, the shift will be so dramatic that people will ask, "Where did they come from?" And you'll smile because you know the truth. You've been here all along. They just weren't anointed to see you yet. Right now, there's a divine reversal happening in the spirit realm. Every debt of dignity you're owed is being repaid with interest. Every tear you cried in secret is being converted into public testimony. Every night you begged God, "When will they see me?" He was writing your introduction in the stars. Here's what's about to happen, and I need you to prepare your heart for this. You won't have to announce yourself anymore. Your peace will do the talking. Your presence will shift atmospheres. When you walk into rooms now, people will feel something they can't explain. Investors will be drawn to you without knowing why. Opportunities will chase you down. Favor will find you in the grocery store, at the gas station, in conversations you weren't even planning to have. That's what happens when God unveils a chosen one. The anointing becomes so undeniable that even your enemies have to admit God is with them. But here's the part that's going to break some of you free. You've been carrying shame about being hidden. You've been embarrassed that while others were celebrated, you were still waiting tables, still working the overnight shift, still living in that small apartment. You thought God forgot about you. He didn't forget. He was protecting your humility. Because chosen ones who get promoted too early become proud. Chosen ones who taste success before suffering become entitled. But you've been marinated in humility. You've been baptized in rejection. You know what it feels like to be counted out, so when God counts you in, you'll never take it for granted. The world is about to witness something they've never seen before. A generation of divine billionaires who don't flaunt wealth, they steward it. Who don't brag about favor, they multiply it. Who don't forget where they came from, they build ladders back down to help others climb up. And you are one of them. Type "I'm ready" to be seen in the comments right now. Not as arrogance, as agreement with heaven. Because God is about to publish your name, and when He does, the vindication will be so complete that you'll finally understand why the wait was worth it. The hidden season is over. The public unveiling has begun, and the same people who counted you out are about to count on you. Now let me tell you what happens when a chosen one steps into wealth. So let me bring this full circle, because I need you to walk away from this message with absolute clarity. You are not waiting anymore. You are not in preparation anymore. You are in manifestation. The signs are all around you. The dreams, the divine ideas, the doors cracking open, the sudden peace in the middle of chaos. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. God is moving you from hidden to seen, from lacking to overflowing, from forgotten to favored. Your billionaire season has officially begun. But remember this, the wealth coming to you is not for you alone. It's for the nations you'll feed, the schools you'll build, the families you'll restore, the communities you'll uplift. You are not being blessed to hoard, you're being blessed to heal. You're not just becoming rich, you're becoming a kingdom builder, a divine steward, a generational changer. And here's what I need you to hold on to when doubt creeps in, when the old voices try to convince you it's all fantasy. You are not alone in this. God has not brought you this far to abandon you now. He's been orchestrating everything behind the scenes while you've been faithful in the dark. Every setback was a setup. Every delay was divine timing. Every closed door was protection from what would have destroyed you. And there's something else you need to know. You're part of a community now. Thousands of chosen ones are watching this message, feeling the same stirring in their spirit that you feel. You're not isolated anymore. We are praying with you. We are standing in faith with you. We are believing for your breakthrough as if it's our own, because when one chosen one rises, we all rise. So let me ask you this, and I want you to really sit with this question. If God has already written your name on the blessing, if heaven has already released the wealth into motion, if the angels are already aligning the opportunities, what are you still afraid of? Because fear is the only thing standing between you and everything God has prepared. Not your past, not your mistakes, not the people who doubted you. Just fear. And today, right here, right now, we're breaking that off your life. Let's pray together. And I mean really pray. If you're able, I want you to lift your hands right now. Put your phone down for a moment. Close your eyes. Let me speak life over you the way I would if I was standing right there with you, my hand on your shoulder, praying for your breakthrough like it's my own. Father God, in the name of Jesus, I come before you right now on behalf of every chosen one hearing my voice. Lord, they've been waiting, they've been faithful, they've been obedient even when it hurt. And today, I'm asking you to release everything you've been holding in reserve for them. Open the floodgates of heaven. Let favor chase them down. Let divine wealth find them in unexpected places. Break every chain of poverty, lack, and limitation that's been wrapped around their bloodline. Cancel every word curse spoken over their finances. Reverse every demonic assignment sent to delay their destiny. God, I pray for supernatural ideas to download into their minds tonight. I pray for divine connections to find them this week. I pray for doors to swing open that no man can shut. Let their obedience be rewarded openly. Let their faithfulness produce fruit that lasts for generations. Protect them from pride, from greed, from the very things that could corrupt the blessing you're releasing. Keep their hearts humble. Keep their eyes on you. Let this wealth make them more like Jesus, not less. Lord, I speak peace over their anxious minds. I speak rest over their weary souls. I speak provision over their empty bank accounts. I speak vindication over their wounded dignity. Whatever they lost, restore it 7 times over. Whatever was stolen, return it with interest. Whatever was delayed, accelerate it supernaturally. Let this be the year, the month, the week that everything changes. Let this be the moment they look back on and say, that's when God showed up and flipped my entire story. And Father, I pray they never forget where they came from. That when the billions come, when the influence expands, when the world starts calling their name, they remember the God who called them first. Let them use every dollar, every platform, every ounce of influence to glorify you and advance your kingdom. In Jesus' mighty, matchless, all-powerful name, amen. Now, if that prayer resonated in your spirit, if you felt the presence of God move while I was speaking, I need you to do something. Type Amen in the comments. Let heaven see your agreement. Let the angels witness your faith. And more than that, let other chosen ones scrolling through the comments know they're not alone. Share this message with someone who's been waiting for confirmation. Send it to the friend who's about to give up. Post it in your story. Because you never know whose destiny depends on your obedience. Somebody needs to hear this today, and God might be using you to deliver it to them. And if you've been blessed by this word, if this channel has spoken life into your spirit, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, Because every single week we're releasing messages designed to awaken, activate, and empower the chosen ones. You are part of a movement now, a family, a remnant of believers who refuse to shrink back from what God has called us to carry. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching until the very end. That alone tells me you're serious about your calling. You're not a casual believer. You're a chosen one stepping into your billionaire season. Now go walk in it. The angels are ready. Heaven is aligned. And your name is already written in the book of divine abundance. Your time is now.